Welcome to Fundamental Update for November 23rd, 2025. And in this channel, I drop fundamental updates every weekend, precisely on Sunday, which will help you get ready for the week. I believe you all already understand. If you've been following the channel, I've already proven to you why fundamentals are very important. You cannot just trade using technicals. As a trader, if you want to make this your source of income for a lifetime and not just something you come into and leave anytime soon, you have to understand fundamentals. And that is why I'm here. I'm going to be helping you to understand the fundamentals for the week and what happened previous week and what we are going to be having this week. First of all, before we go into the fundamentals, I want you to look at dollar. Dollar is looking pretty much bullish technically, right? Exactly. And I've been drawing these zones, showing you all that these zones look like a zone of reaction, and market actually came back to this zone last week and reacted to it, giving us a bullish push to the upside. Now I will explain everything that happened, explain the trade I took, explain the important concept you need to understand when it comes to fundamentals, and also what we should be expecting this week, and also the trade setup I will be possibly looking at if I get a confirmation this week as well. So let's go straight into it. So this is dollar, but I want you to understand that a lot of things happened last week. I told you all that last week focus was actually on NFP, right? NFP news release, that investors were seeing fact that NFP was going to be released on Thursday, and this made us have a particular outlook, a particular theme for that week. You understand that every week we have a theme, and that is what I'm trying to explain to you. Every certain week we have a theme. What is a market theme? Market theme is just simply the things in which investors are focusing on. These are the things that matters to them. If news is coming out on one particular aspect that doesn't involve that particular theme, they don't actually care about it. Do you understand? They don't care about it. Let me remove my this is actually disturbing us, right? I don't know if it's the battery percent. I'll check that out later. But I want you all to understand that a particular theme affects the market. So if you are looking at fundamentals and not just looking at fundamentals based on this calendar, no, you have to understand the market theme. And last week our market focus was the NFP. NFP was coming out on Thursday, and this was what actually moved the dollar to be on a bullish side till the NFP release, and I will explain why. So first things first, we had on Monday, which was CAD CPI. CAD CPI came out negative on Canadian dollar, and I'm sure this made CAD bearish for a short period of time, even if it's not a long period, for a very short period of time. That was an important news on CAD. And on Tuesday we had unemployment claims. Now this unemployment claims, we didn't have a forecast, so investors were not really sure what the data release would be. But unemployment claim just simply tells you how many people were unemployed, or how many people claims to be unemployed in a particular month, and it came out higher than expected. Now this is the bad news. Higher than expected is the bad news, but this did not really move the market. Why? Because like I said, it's the non-farm payroll that matters to investors. So non-farm payroll, investors were forecasting that it's going to come out positive, right? And when I did my fundamental research, I understood that on Thursday the non-farm payroll is going to, the NFP, investors are expecting it to come out positive. And I told you when it comes to fundamental, you don't trade the actual data release, you trade the rumors of the data. You understand? And if you trade the rumor, you can price in with the currency pair before the actual news release. And this was how I took a trade on USD CHF. I'll show you my entry, I'll show you my exit on USD CHF. So this was how I took a trade on USD CHF. Let us look at it. Well, let's go over to the 2 hours time frame and look at it. Now this was how I caught this trade on USD CHF. I rode it all the way to the top. This is up to 67 pips or 70 pips if I'm to be precise. The market actually went all the way to the top, but I did not hold it very well. That's my regret, right? This was where I found an entry in the market at this particular zone. I explained why I took this entry on my TikTok handle. For those who don't have that, you can check the YouTube description, or you can just possibly join my Telegram channel. I'll be keeping you updated. So for the meantime, let me just explain how I took the trade. This was my entry. I traded based on IFO and timing, and I told you I have two strategy, IFO and HPA. So I trade based on rumors. I understood the rumors of the market, right? I understood that investors are expecting to see dollar positive due to the fact that we are seeing NFP coming out positive. And what did I do? I also sent the signal to the signal channel. You can see this is what the signal channel look like. This is what we took on the trade, right? A buy limit was set and the thing was triggered, and we caught it and we rode it all the way to the top, and this was our TP. A very, very sweet trade, a very, very good outcome. Everybody was happy, we all made profit. You understand? So let's go straight into more of what happened this week, right? Let's go into straight more what happened this week. We can see the non-farm payroll came out positive. Unemployment claims also came out positive. Why? Because on Thursday too, a lot of people were claimed to be, not unemployed, right? Because unemployment claim just simply tells you how many amount of people claims to be unemployed. So if it comes out positive, it means a little number of people claim to be unemployed. Do you understand? So that is just simply it for this. I want you to all to understand that also another good economic data came out on GDP flash PMI, but this one doesn't really move the market. We have the 50.2% on PMI, which is a good data release. We also had more data release on the forex factory calendar. Now, how do I understand the rumors? I want you all to understand that it's not just on this calendar I usually read fundamentals. I don't just read fundamentals only on this calendar. I want you all to understand that sometimes fundamental update is more than just the calendar. You have to understand how to read the sentiment. You have to check out all these things in the market. You understand? So how do I check this out? I simply do my research, and I usually teach my students how to do their research when it comes to fundamental updates. And for those who are interested in joining the class and understanding this, I've already showed you all what you can do. We are still at a discount, and I'll be teaching you how to understand how to read fundamentals perfectly, and like a lot of students in the macro mastery class are already trading fundamentally perfectly. It's a 6 months training and also a lifetime mentorship. I will teaching you not only how to catch good moves on any currency of your choice, you also learn how to trade gold, learn how to trade BTC, and a lot of other news release that are involved when it comes to fundamentals. Fundamentals have increased my win rate by a lot of percentage. I don't want to say 100%, but I'm thinking 90%, because I still have losses, but very few. My profit runs very high. I can catch a trade up to 70 pips, 80 pips. This is due to fundamentals. Do you understand? There are a lot of trade I've taken. These are just few of them. You understand? So if you're interested, it's still at $42, and possibly if you're checking that in naira, that should be 60k, right? So that is simply it. If the discount should end, it's going to be going back to $175, which is up to 200k in naira. So let's go back to what we had last week. So that is simply for the important news we had last week. Also had flash PMI on Friday on dollar, which came out 55, which is positive, right? 55.0, which is positive. Now, something also happened on Friday, which changed the bias of the market, and I want to explain something. So you can see that all of a sudden, we saw a little bit of drastic fallout on this particular pair, right? This is because on Friday we still had news release saying that there's still see chance of another rate cut, but this is not really an important news. The market did not really take it that importantly, so this was what gave the little bit of fallout in this particular zone. The USD CHF gave a little bit of retracement, but I want you all to understand that that news is not really important. It's just a Friday news. Do you understand? It's a Friday news, and this is an example of things that cause a Friday manipulation. Also, I was looking at trade on AUD. I was playing AUD, right? AUD JPY was one of the trades I saw on Friday, and it actually took us out. It took us out at, I think, 14 pips. We didn't really risk much. That's one thing about my trade. I can be making 60 pips, 70 pips from a trade and losing 14 pips if I should ever hit SL. So this was my zone of, entry. This was my buy zone. I expected the market to retrace all the way back to this order. I know what I saw. But fundamentally on Friday, we had a manipulation. Now, you can notice that JPY has been weak. USD JPY has been buying, right? CAD JPY has been buying. AUD JPY has been buying. Why? Because JPY is weak. Why? What is happening in JPY economy? What is happening in Japan economy? And what is causing the weakness? I want you to understand that the investors are scared of debt when it comes to the Japanese economy, right? The Japan economy. The debtors are scared of debt. The Japanese yen is becoming weaker and weaker. Why? Because the new Senate president is just going into fiscal policy. Now, this fiscal policy just involve her borrowing, money from other, economies and other investors to fund the particular economy, which is Japan economy. And due to the fact of this fiscal policy, Investors are scared of debt, and if an economy should enter a debt, it's going to make the economy very, very weak. But now, Senator Takashi has a plan. She's planning on making the economy boom over time. So that is why she's borrowing. She's borrowing to invest on the economy. She's spending. She's going through, deficit, right? She's going through deficit. So the spending is going to make the economy grow over time. But for now, for the short term, JPY is weak. Now on Friday, what made JPY strong? On Friday, you can see USD JPY also sold massively on Friday. Let us look at USD JPY, right? USD JPY sold massively on Friday. CAD JPY as well. GBP JPY, all the JPY pairs sold on Friday. What caused this? This is because the governor was not happy with the weakness of JPY and he was willing to intervene. He said that the import rate is going to increase if they actually keep making the Japanese yen weak. Now, due to this, investors saw hope that the governor is going to intervene if the Japanese yen keeps becoming weak. Now, that was why on Friday we saw a drastic sell-off on USD JPY. We saw a drastic sell-off on AUD JPY. We saw a drastic sell-off on all the JPY quoted pairs, making JPY a little bit strong. Now, is this a long-term news or a short-term news? I want you to understand it's a short-term news. This doesn't mean that JPY will start selling all of a sudden. It's just a news that gave investors hope that Japanese yen might actually be strong. But that doesn't mean it will be strong for a long period of time until the governor actually intervene, or maybe until the economy start picking up. Because normally, if not for the new president, we would have expected a rate hike on Japanese yen. A rate hike is supposed to make the economy strong, so it's supposed to make JPY strong. But due to the new Senate president, from the moment in which she was entering, the people saw it that, oh, this new Senate president is against rate hike, and it's going to take time before we see any rate hike. This was why the Japanese yen has been weak for a long period of time. So this was the massive buy. A lot of my students caught this buy on USD JPY. I think there was an entry here. I didn't really see it. I missed out on it. It was at a key level. The market bought massively to the top here. You understand? And all of a sudden on Friday it sold massively. This is due to Friday manipulation. And I told my student I'll be explaining to them deep concept on this Friday manipulation this evening, which is on Sunday. If you're a student of mine watching this video, I want you to be active for the class, right? Because we are going to be taking good notes on why Fridays are being manipulated and what actually causes it. You understand? So let's go straight into more of what happened last week. Another thing we observed was the GBP AUD. We saw strength on GBP AUD. What happened on GBP AUD? I want you to understand that GBP AUD is actually, I'll say GBP AUD is actually at a key level and is ranging, but we saw a little bit of strength. AUD is actually picking up as an economy. You understand? But also GBP is picking up. But when it comes to strength, GBP is picking up more strength than AUD. AUD, the governors are just expecting a lowered chances of a rate cut. Now this is what is just simply making AUD itself strong, but GBP is picking up more strength than AUD. And if you're looking at this, I think I saw a key level on Euro AUD, and the market respected that key level and bounced all the way to the top. You can see this is a key level and bounced all the way to the top. You understand? To me, this is a good uptrend. The market respected this. Technically, I would have seen a buy entry, but I use fundamentals, so I didn't actually take this trade. I just allowed it to play out. If I see any reason to buy, I might still find an entry here on Euro AUD to take it all the way to the top. So that is simply everything on what happened last week. Let us see what we have this week. Now, this week, I want you to understand that it's just all about economic health and economic indicator. Why am I saying so? Because so far, we've had a government shutdown. Now, that government shutdown have prevented important data release like the core, like the CPI, like the PCE, like the non-farm payroll. That is why we had a non-farm payroll on the 20th of November. Normally, it's supposed to be on the first Friday of every month, but we had it on the 20th of November. So we're going to be seeing more of economic data release that have been postponed, that have been held due to the government shutdown, because the government shutdown have been called to an end. So that is simply what the market team is all about. That is the focus of this week. Focus of this week is what? Economic health. So if you know how to read economic health of a particular currency, check the health, check if the market is going to react based on the health of this economy, right? For example, the Japanese yen is proven to be weak, but inflation is rising. the GDP for Japan, for the Japanese yen is weak, but inflation is rising. This is what they call stagflation, when inflation is rising but the economy itself is not rising with inflation. You understand? So for the USD, we have already seen a good positive non-farm payroll. I believe we might keep seeing positive results because dollar is looking bullish. You understand? We might actually keep seeing positive results. The forecast for the PCE, because PCE is the most important, forecast for PCE hasn't been brought out yet, but once the week resume, I'll be looking at the forecast. You understand? And I'll be looking at the expectations of, the investors based on PCE, because this is the most important news. This PCE, right? This one that is marked green. This is the most important news for this week, and investors are going to price in based on the expectation of this news. And for sure, I'll drop the signals to my VIP signal members for those who are willing to take the trade. So investors, whatever investors are predicting, that is what we'll trade. We might take the trade starting from Monday. We might enter the market from Monday, hold it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Wednesday afternoon, we might actually take profit on that particular rumor. We are not going to be trading the news itself. You understand? Another important news is the PMI, the core PMI, which is on Tuesday. This one will actually move the market, but might not really have a long-term effect, just a short-term effect. You understand? So another news which is important is the CPI on AUD, right? This will actually give us more analysis on AUD to know if the economy is picking up on AUD, if they are going to keep rate cut on a steady, or if they are going to actually implement it next year. But for me, AUD is still picking up a little bit of strength. You understand? So, but based on GBP, based on the currency I trade, GBP is still picking up more strength than AUD. But let us see how it plays out this week. GBP too might get weaker and AUD might start overruling it. Now, the most important we also have is the NZD, which they are predicting a rate cut. You can see the forecast is already showing a rate cut. The previous was 2.50%. Now the forecast is 2.25%. What does this mean? It means that NZD is going to be weak. NZD is going to be weak. So if you find an entry to sell NZD USD, that would be very good. That would be very good. You can sell it before the actual news release, because if the news release should come out, even though NZD is already forecasted to be weak, the statements after the news might be bullish. So it might actually take you out if you try to sell at that particular Wednesday. Remember, like I said, you don't trade the news on that time of the release. You trade it before the release. You trade the rumors of the news. Do you understand? So that's just simply it. On Wednesday, we have unemployment claims, which is not really important. It's not going to really move the market. So not all these red folders will move the market, right? Also, the USD GDP. This is very important. So it just help us to understand the health of the economy and if it's actually going fine. If this news should come out positive as well, it's going to make you dollar very bullish, right? So that is simply it. And on Thursday, we're having bank holiday on USD, which would make the currency a little bit weak and the volatility will be low. So what is our technical expectation based on the chart? Well, let us look at the first one in which I'm already at. From Euro AUD, if I'm saying technically, I'm still seeing a possible buy. This has already given us a buy zone based on the fact that this was a change of character, this zone here. So if market should retrace all the way back to this entry, maybe you want to find an entry at the other block, you can take it. If you get a good confirmation, you can take the trade, right? I believe this is actually based on technicals. This is actually a good setup on Euro AUD, and if you can catch the trade, that would be very nice. What else do we have? USD CHF, I'm not really seeing much entry. My regret on USD CHF is that I did not hold this trade. If I held this trade all the way till Thursday, maybe taking profit before that actual news event, this would have been 120 pips, 120 pips. You understand? So for AUD JPY, I am still going to be positive. I'm still going to be expecting a buy on AUD JPY. Even though it took me out last week on Friday, I still believe there's, an opportunity for another buy at this level, except if it now breaks this key level. This key level hasn't been broken yet. We can see there was a week. It hasn't been broken yet. So what am I going to be expecting? I'm going to be expecting at least let me see a change of character. Maybe in the 1 hour time frame, 30 minutes time frame, then a retracement. Then if I can catch it all the way to the top, that would be very nice, because AUD is still stronger than JPY. JPY is still weak fundamentally. You understand? So CAD JPY is still at key level. All these things I'm telling you, remember, is at key level. If this key level gets broken, it means that it might actually not hold. You understand? So that's why I usually tell you, wait for confirmations at key level. If I give a fundamental update, I still check I still do well to check technicals. I don't just trade based on, oh, card is strong, I will just buy a card JPY. No, I still trade based on technicals. So if this key level should hold, I'm going to buy. If it doesn't hold, I will leave the trade. If it sells, good, I'll actually leave the trade. You understand? So that is just simply it. For USD JPY, I'm still expecting a little bit of bearish momentum before I start buying, but because it's not at a key level, I love trading at key levels. If this market should get all the way to this top, to this place, or maybe all the way to this place over here, maybe then I can now start finding entry on this trade. I love trading at key level. You understand? So if I don't see any reason to buy. But if you have a better, analysis, you see a good opportunity to buy, sure, you can take the buy. Right, you can take the buy. So for Euro USD, I'm seeing, based on lower time frame, I'm seeing a bearish pressure. Euro USD is going to be selling. Why? Because dollar is strong. Like I said, dollar is strong. So I'm seeing a liquidity sweep. If markets can sweep this liquidity at this top, come all the way back to this key level over here, then I'll be finding an entry, because this is actually a key level. Cancel this is actually a key level on this trade. This is a key level. This is a sweet key level. So if market should retrace all the way back there, I will be finding an entry. But for now, the key level is neutral, so I don't expect it to be taking aggressive entry there, except if you want to trade the other block, because there's a sweet other block here. Sweet other block. This will be my HPA pattern, right? If I'm not mistaken. So if I should get a good entry, I'll send it to the signal channel, and we are going to ride this one to the downside, because dollar is still strong. But that's if we get the retracement all the way to this top side, because I feel like the retracement might not even happen. So let's look at GBP JPY. GBP JPY is actually at a key level, if I'm not mistaken. Very sweet key level. This is still a neutral. I wouldn't say you should take an aggressive entry. I always say this: do not take aggressive entry. Before someone come and tell me, oh, I took a trade based on your fundamental update and I lost my money, I do not advise you to take a trade. I told you to wait for confirmation. So if you take a trade, I myself, I might not even take the trade. You understand? I'll be waiting for confirmation. So if I get the confirmation, I'm going to buy it all the way to the top. If I don't see any, I would leave the trade. That is just simply it. I hope you all understood the fundamental update. For now, in case you have any question, make sure to ask me. In case you have anything that's bothering you, just let me know. Based on technicals, based on fundamentals, I'll be ready to clear that out. Make sure to join my Telegram channel, because I drop important updates there as well, in case of any shift on all these things I just said, because the market can just shift sentiment, and all of a sudden everything I said here might not be valid anymore. If there's a risk off, if there's anything, market can just shift sentiment. So that is why it's good to stay updated in my Telegram channel. Also view my WhatsApp status, because I drop important update there as well. With that being said, have a lovely trading week ahead. More profits to come. Stay safe.